Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different. We are stepping into what we're calling a crisis in perception.
That sounds ominous and a little vague.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually a specific framework we're using. Usually we look at a topic, history, tech, whatever, and we break it down.
Right.
Today, we are looking at the systems that shape how we see the world, and we're doing it through the lens of one very specific, very complex book.
We are. We're diving into Film, Negation and Freedom, Capitalism and Romantic Critique by Will Kitchen.
Now, before you tune out thinking, oh, a film theory book, I haven't even seen these movies, just hold on. This is not a film review show.
No, not at all. We aren't going to be debating whether the lighting was good or if the acting was a little wooden.
Definitely not. This is a systems-level analysis. Kitchen is arguing that cinema isn't just entertainment, it's a, what does he call it, a perceptual regime?
A perceptual regime. I mean, it's a machine that trains us how to look at the world, how to value success, and ultimately how to understand our own lives.
Exactly. And the central conflict he sets up is absolutely gripping. It's this tension between what he calls the capitalist order and romantic critique.
And those terms might not mean exactly what you think they mean in this context. They're pretty specific here.
Yeah, let's clarify that right away. On one side, you have the capitalist order. This is the system that demands productivity. It demands legibility, like you need to make sense to the market.
Right, you have to be quantifiable.
And above all, it demands success.
Winning, getting the reward. The story has to have a payoff. The line has to go up.
And then on the other side, you have romantic critique. But again, this isn't about romance novels or candlelight dinners. This is about negation.
Yes, it's about interruption. It's about the right to fail.
So it's the tension between the movie that wraps everything up in a neat little bow, where the hero wins and gets the girl and the money.
Versus the film that just stops. The film that stalls. The character who just refuses to act.
And that's the problem with cinema, with a capital C, right? Mainstream cinema is usually a subsystem of capitalism. It trains us to expect that closure. It trains us to want the hero to win.
Precisely. Because cinema is an industry. It's produced inside these massive capitalist institutions. Studios need to make a profit.
Of course.
Screenwriters need to follow structures that are proven to sell tickets. So the medium itself is kind of incentivized to support the status quo. You don't spend $100 million to tell people that, doing nothing is the right answer.
But the mission of this deep dive and the mission of Kitchen's book is to look at the rebels. Specifically, the films of directors like Arthur Penn and Lindsay Anderson in the 60s and 70s. Because Kitchen argues these filmmakers actually managed to breed the system.
But here's the key, and this is the really fascinating part. They didn't break it by winning.
No.
They broke it by failing.
By stalling. By hesitating.
By just refusing to play the game.
Okay, so let's set the terms here properly. When we talk about the system, or the success ethic, what are we actually talking about?
Well, we have to look at late modern capitalism, not just as an economy, not just as money changing hands, but as a way of seeing.
A worldview.
A complete worldview.
Yeah.
It organizes social life around this idea of measurable success.
Yeah.
Everything has to be legible. It has to be quantifiable.
If you can't measure it, it doesn't count. If it's not on the spreadsheet, it might as well not exist.
Exactly. And cinema is the perfect vehicle for this. Just think about a standard Hollywood narrative. You have a goal. You have obstacles. You overcome them through decisive action. You achieve the goal.
The classic hero's journey.
It is. And that is the success ethic packaged as entertainment. It reinforces the idea that if you just work hard enough, if you just act enough, you will win. It feels natural.
It does feel natural. It feels like that's just how stories work. Stories have always been like that, haven't they? A beginning, a middle, and an end.
Have they? Or have we just been trained to think that's the only way a story can work? Kitchen points out a paradox here that's really at the heart of the whole thing. The films we're going to discuss today, movies like Mickey 1 or Oh Lucky Man, they are produced inside this system.
Right, they're studio pictures.
Millions of dollars, big stars like Warren Beatty and Malcolm McDowell. And yet, they attempt to generate what he calls moments of negation.
Negation. Okay, that's a big word for this deep dive. Let's pin that one down.
Think of negation as an interruption, a short circuit. It's a moment where the machinery of the story just stops working, a refusal to provide the expected payoff.
So the key question Kitchen is asking is, what? Can you effectively critique a system while operating entirely within its incentive architecture?
Exactly. Can you make an anti-capitalist movie that the capitalists themselves are paying for?
That is the million-dollar question. It reminds me of that old line about capitalists selling you the rope to hang them with.
Right. But to even begin to answer that, we have to get into the philosophical engine of this book. We have to talk about romanticism.
And we need to redefine it immediately, because when I hear romanticism, I think of, poets looking at lakes, Wordsworth and daffodils. I don't think of political radicalism or film theory.
And that's part of it, the looking at lakes part. Kitchen makes this one crucial distinction that changes absolutely everything. He splits romanticism into two camps, light romanticism and dark romanticism.
Okay.
And understanding this split is the key to understanding everything else we're going to talk about today.
All right, let's unpack this. Start with the villain of the piece, you said. Dark romanticism.
Dark romanticism is associated with action, with a capital A willpower, imposing order on chaos. Kitchen traces this idea all the way back to the philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte.
Yes, Fichte. Okay, we're going deep into German idealism here. Why does Fichte matter to a movie about a comedian in the 1960s?
Because Fichte basically wrote the operating system for the modern world. In his book, The Vocation of Man, Fichte argues that the absolute ego, the self, is defined by its ability to shape the world. He says the world is just raw material for our duty. It exists for us to work on. It's just stuff waiting for us to give it meaning.
So the world is just clay, and I am the sculptor.
Exactly. Fichte argues that the highest calling of a human being is to act, to change the world, to impose your will upon it. He has this deep, deep anxiety about the passive self.
He's terrified of just sitting there and letting the world happen to him.
Terrified. For Fichte, passivity is death. Action is life.
That sounds incredibly influential. That sounds like every self-help book, every business biography, every hustle culture influencer on TikTok.
Is the blueprint.
Manifest your reality. Grind until you make it.
It is. It leads directly to the capitalist entrepreneur, the disruptor, who reshapes the market. But Kitchen argues it also leads somewhere much, much darker. It leads to the fascist dictator.
Whoa, okay. That escalated very quickly. How do we get from hustle culture to fascism?
Well, think about the underlying logic. It's about totality. It's the obsession with making the whole world fit a single coherent vision.
My vision.
Your vision. If my will is absolute, and if my job is to impose order on chaos, then anyone or anything that disagrees with my order is just an obstacle to be overcome.
It has to be assimilated or eliminated.
Right. So whether that vision is a corporate monopoly that crushes all competition or a totalitarian state that crushes all dissent, the fundamental impulse is the same. I will act, and I will force the world to align with my will.
So dark romanticism is the belief that action justifies itself, that doing something, imposing a narrative, is inherently good regardless of the consequences.
Yes, and in cinema, that is the standard narrative arc. The hero has a problem. The hero acts. The hero overcomes obstacles. The hero imposes a new, better order on the world.
Right.
That is dark romanticism. It feels good. It feels heroic. But structurally, it's about domination. It's about conquering the environment.
Okay, so if that's the dark side, the side of action, will, and story, what on earth is light romanticism?
Light romanticism is the critique. It is the counter-impulse. It's associated with inaction, hesitation, what Kitchen calls the empty infinity.
The empty infinity. That sounds very poetic, but what does it mean in practice?
It's the refusal to act.
Yeah.
It's the profound realization that because the system is so corrupt, because the game is so rigged, any action you take within that system is already compromised.
Give me an analogy for that.
Okay, think of the classic trolley problem. You know, the lever, the train, the people tied to the tracks.
Pull the lever, you kill one person, but you save 5. Don't pull it, 5 people die. A classic ethical dilemma.
Dark romanticism pulls the lever without hesitation. It calculates. It acts. It imposes a decision on reality to maximize the outcome. It chooses the lesser evil.
And light romanticism.
Light romanticism looks at the lever and says, I refuse to touch this. It walks away.
But then 5 people die. That seems morally worse.
Does it? The light romantic argues that the entire setup is a trap. By touching the lever, by participating in the system's brutal logic, you become a murderer. You become complicit.
You legitimize the system that ties people to tracks.
Precisely. Light romanticism is the refusal to calculate. It's the refusal to play God. It values standing still over moving forward because moving forward just means moving deeper into the trap.
That is so counterintuitive. I mean, we were raised from birth to believe that doing something is always better than doing nothing. Don't just stand there, do something.
And light romanticism flips that entirely and says, no, don't just do something, stand there. Because in a system that is defined by constant, exploitative action, paralysis might be the only moral choice left.
So how does this show up in a film?
It shows up as these aesthetic ruptures, moments where the story just, it stops, where the narrative drive completely breaks down and the audience is left with this uncomfortable stillness, this moment that doesn't serve the plot.
Kitchen connects this to some heavy systems theory, right? Specifically, he brings in Jacques Rancière.
Yes, Rancière's idea of the regimes of art.
Hmm.
He talks about this conflict between what he calls the representative regime.
Which is the dark side.
Yeah.
Cinema, story, logic, everything fitting together.
Right, and the aesthetic regime.
Which is the light side.
The aesthetic regime is about the raw image, the chaos, the truth of a moment that refuses to fit neatly into a story. And this connects beautifully to what Roland Barthes called the punctum.
The punctum. I love this concept, but it can be a little hard to grasp. Can you break it down?
Okay, imagine you're looking at an old photograph, say, of a soldier from the American Civil War. The studium, which is the general cultural interest, is the history. You see the uniform, the gun, the context. That's the story. That's the representative regime.
Okay, makes sense.
But then you notice something small, a detail. His shoelace is untied, or his fingernails are dirty, or there's a button missing on his coat. That little detail captures you. It pricks you. That's what punctum means in Latin.
It wounds you a little bit.
It does, because it has nothing to do with the war. It has nothing to do with the grand narrative of history. It's just a raw, undeniable fact of reality. It doesn't advance the narrative. It actually interrupts it. You stop thinking about the Civil War and you start thinking about this specific tired boy.
So the punctum is the detail that ruins the generalization. It breaks the clean narrative with a dose of messy reality.
Exactly. And Kitchen argues that these moments of light romanticism in film act like a punctum. They prick the bubble of the neat capitalist narrative. They remind us that the story is a lie, that life is much messier.
So inaction becomes a kind of a structural refusal of the success ethic. You aren't just being lazy, you are protesting the very structure of reality as it's being presented to you.
That's the idea.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. This sounds like a very, well, a very privileged position. I'm just going to stand still and not participate. Meanwhile, the rent is due, the world is burning. Isn't this light romanticism just a fancy way of giving up?
That is the central tension. That is exactly the problem that a thinker like Adorno wrestled with his entire life. Is non-participation a revolutionary act, or is it just suicide? Is it a protest, or is it just quietism?
And the book doesn't give an easy answer.
No, it doesn't give an answer. It shows us the struggle, and that struggle is perfectly painfully captured in the first film we really need to discuss, Arthur Penn's Mickey 1.
Okay, let's get into the movies. Mickey 1 from 1965, starring Warren Beatty. I had never seen this before, prepping for this deep dive, and frankly, it felt like a fever dream.
It essentially is. It's an American take on the French New Wave. It's an allegory for what Kitchen calls the panic of success. Warren Beatty plays a stand-up comedian, Mickey, and he's on the run.
Who is he running from?
He's running from the mob. But here's the crucial catch. You never see the mob.
You never see them, not once.
Never. There are no guys with Tommy guns. There's no Don Corleone sitting in a dark room. The mob is this invisible, omnipresent force. Kitchen argues the mob is a metaphor for the capitalist demand to be somebody. It represents the system itself.
So he's not running from gangsters. He's running from the pressure to succeed.
He's running from the visibility that success brings. This connects directly back to Max Weber's theory of the vocational calling.
Right, from the Protestant ethic.
The very same. Weber argued that capitalism took the religious idea of a calling, that God has a specific purpose for you, and it secularized it.
So instead of a divine purpose, it's an economic one.
Exactly. Capitalism demands you identify your talent, your calling, and then you exploit it to the fullest. If you have a talent and you don't use it to make money, you are, in a way, sinning against the market.
And Mickey is a comedian. That's his calling.
He's a natural. Everyone in the movie tells him this. You're a natural, Mickey. But he is terrified of using it because the moment he gets on that stage, the moment he becomes Mickey 1, the successful comedian, he becomes visible to the system. The mob will find him.
That is a terrifying spin on fame. Success isn't a reward. It's a death sentence.
To be Mickey 1 is to be a target. So he runs away. He changes his name. He hides in the underbelly of the city in Chicago. He tries to be a nobody.
And there's this specific scene that Kitchen analyzes that really highlights this whole light romanticism idea, the scene with the garbage.
It's such a crucial moment. Mickey gets a job in a grimy restaurant kitchen, scraping plates. He's hiding at the absolute bottom of the economic hierarchy, and the manager actually nicknames him Garbage.
He calls him garbage.
He says, your name's Mickey 1, Garbage.
It's not subtle.
Not at all. But then Mickey goes out to the alley to dump the trash, and he sees this man, the junk artist.
I want to paint the picture for the listener here. It's a dark, grimy alley. Steam is rising from vents. And there's this guy, this Japanese artist named Kamitori, and what is he doing?
He's built this massive, intricate machine out of junk, but it's not a machine that does anything. And he's holding two metal trash can lids, and he's just clashing them together.
Like cymbals in an orchestra.
Like cymbals, but it's violent, it's loud, it's rhythmic. He's running up and down a fire escape, banging these lids, screaming in this guttural non-language. It's this horrific, discordant, beautiful noise.
And most movies would play this for laughs, or they'd show it as a sign that this guy is crazy.
But Mickey 1 treats it like a moment of transcendent beauty. The camera just lingers on it, the lighting shifts. It's treated with absolute seriousness.
Why? I mean, why is this random noisy moment so important?
Because it has no function. It has zero economic value. He isn't selling the noise. He isn't trying to entertain an audience. He is taking trash, the stuff capitalism literally throws away, and turning it into a useless, singular, free moment of art.
It stops the narrative dead in its tracks.
Completely. It's a junction of light romanticism. It's an aesthetic rupture. For that 1 minute, we aren't worrying about the mob or Mickey's career or the plot. We are just experiencing this bizarre, free act. It serves no purpose, and because of that, it is truly free.
But Mickey can't stay there, can he? I mean, the movie has to keep going. He can't just hang out in the alley banging trash cans forever.
And that's the tragedy of the film. Mickey eventually succumbs to the pressure. He returns to the stage. He accepts his calling.
He sells out. Or I guess he buys in.
He buys in. He engages an agent. He gets a big gig at a fancy nightclub called Xanadu, and the ending of the film is just chilling.
What happens?
Mickey is on stage. He's in the middle of his act, and he looks out into the audience, and he's blinded by this single massive spotlight.
The spotlight is usually the symbol of having made it, right? You're in the spotlight. You're a star.
But in Mickey 1, the final shot of the film is Mickey, paralyzed in that light. He's frozen. He isn't telling jokes anymore. He's just staring, terrified, into this white-hot light. Kitchen interprets this not as a triumph, but as an execution.
An execution.
The spotlight represents the totalitarian eye of the audience, of the sister. He has been found. He is trapped in the success ethic. He has succumbed to that dark, romantic urge to be a hero, to be a star, and the result is total paralysis. It's what Kitchen calls a qualified affirmation. He won, but he lost his soul.
That is bleak. It completely flips the whole A Star is Born narrative on its head. If the system is a trap, then making it just means the trap has finally snapped shut.
Exactly. And if Mickey 1 is about the terror of running away from the system, the next film Kitchen analyzes, Oh Lucky Man, is about the horror of running towards it.
Lindsay Anderson's masterpiece from 1973, starring Malcolm McDowell as Mick Travis.
Right.
Now, Mick Travis is a very different kind of character from Mickey. Mickey was paranoid, anxious, running away. Travis is enthusiastic.
Travis is the ultimate yes man. He wants to play the game. He starts as a coffee salesman, and he has this boundless, almost naive optimism. He believes in the system.
He's the guy who listens to motivational tapes in the car on his way to a sales meeting. He's the guy who says no problem when you ask him to work a double shift.
He is. And structurally, the film is a picaresque. It's this long, episodic journey where the hero just bounces from one situation to another. Kitchen calls Travis the embodiment of capitalist stamina.
Meaning he can take a beating and just keep on smiling.
Meaning he has no core self. He is purely adaptable. In the course of the movie, he is a coffee salesman. Then he's a medical guinea pig in a bizarre experiment. Then he's an assistant to a ruthless arms dealer. Then he's a prisoner. He just adapts to whatever the market needs him to be in that moment.
He's the ideal modern worker. Flexible, resilient, hollow.
Precisely. He represents the trap of adaptability. And this leads to one of the most deeply disturbing scenes in the book, and honestly, in all of 70s cinema, the honey scene.
Oh, this scene. I watched this clip 3 times because I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It sounds innocent enough at first. It's a business meeting, right?
It's a very high-level corporate meeting. Travis has somehow failed upwards and is now the personal assistant to a billionaire tycoon, Sir James. They are in this plush boardroom, expensive suits, crystal water pitchers, all very civilized.
Yeah.
And they're discussing a potential investment in a developing nation called Zingara.
And the tone is very polite, very corporate.
It is. At first, they're talking about tourist hotels. We'll build a lovely resort. It'll be wonderful for the economy. You know, standard imperialism disguised as development.
But then the discussion shifts.
It slides. It's so subtle and so horrifying. The general from Zingara mentions they're having a little bit of trouble with some rebels in the area where they want to build. And the tycoon, Sir James, says, well, we can handle that. And the conversation moves seamlessly from hotels to honey.
Which is a code name.
For a chemical weapon. It's basically napalm. And Sir James presses a button, and a projector screen comes down. And suddenly, in this polite, quiet boardroom, they are watching footage of this weapon being used on human beings.
Describe what they're actually seeing on that screen.
It's horrific. It's real atrocity footage.
Yeah.
Burning bodies, villages in flames, people screaming in agony. It's genocide presented as a product demo.
And how does Travis, our hero, our protagonist, react to this?
That is the horror of the scene. The camera cuts to Malcolm McDowell's face. And he isn't horrified. He isn't sick. He doesn't look away. He looks at the screen, then he looks at his boss. And he smiles.
He smiles.
He nods. He takes notes in his little notebook. He checks the folder to make sure the numbers add up.
That is just chilling. Why? Is he a sociopath? Is that the explanation?
No, that would be too easy. He's an employee. He's a good employee.
Yeah.
Kitchen points out that in what he calls capitalist rationality, there is no moral difference between selling coffee and selling napalm.
It's just a product. It's just a line on a balance sheet.
It's just efficient means to an end. If the goal is profit, that dark romantic totality, then the means don't matter. Burning a village is just a logistics problem to be solved. Travis smiles through both because he is complicit through stamina. He's learned that to succeed, you must disconnect your morality from your actions.
It's that compartmentalization we see everywhere. It's Hannah Arendt's banality of evil. Yeah. It's not a monster with horns and a pitchfork. It's a guy in a suit with a spreadsheet saying, look, I'm just following the Q3 strategy.
Right. It's nothing personal, it's just business.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky man takes that phrase and pushes it to its absolute horrific limit. Travis has become a perfect vessel for the system because he has no self left to object with.
And the movie ends on a really strange note, too. It's this very meta moment that completely breaks the fourth wall.
It is. The whole narrative falls apart.
Yeah.
Travis ends up at a casting call for a movie, which, it turns out, is Oh, Lucky Man itself.
So he's auditioning for the role of himself in the movie we've just been watching.
Yes, and the director, Lindsay Anderson himself, the actual director of the film, walks into the frame. He looks at Travis, he asks him to do a reading, and then he tells Travis to smile.
And Travis asks why he should smile.
He says, what is there to smile about?
Yeah.
And Anderson just hits him.
He hits him with his hand.
He takes the script, the literal text of the movie we are watching, and slaps him hard across the face with it.
Wow. That's subtle.
It's so brutal. It's the author physically assaulting the character for questioning the script. And after being hit, Travis looks stunned for a second, but then slowly, this huge smile spreads across his face. And it's not a fake smile. It's this glowing, radiant, almost beatific smile.
So how do we interpret that? Is that enlightenment? Is that a Zen moment where he finally gets it?
That's the debate. Some critics see it as Zen acceptance, but Kitchen argues for the crisis in perception interpretation. He says Travis has learned to love the whip.
He's accepted the abuse as necessary.
He accepts the lie of totality. That smile is the ultimate victory of the system. He stops fighting. He stops questioning. He accepts his role as a character in the script, as a cog in the machine. He realizes that his only freedom is to surrender completely to the author.
Which is the ultimate dark romantic fantasy. The author, the dictator, the CEO has total control, and the subject smiles and says, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?"
Exactly. It's terrifying because it looks like happiness. It looks like resolution.
Yeah.
But it is actually total subjugation.
So we have Mickey 1, who is paralyzed by the spotlight of success, and Mick Travis, who is basically lobotomized into a smile. This isn't exactly a cheerful deep dive, is it?
It's a critique. It's meant to expose the invisible walls. The point is, if you don't see the bars on the cage, you can't even begin to think about escaping the prison.
Well, let's look at two more quick examples Kitchen brings up because they show different facets of this system. We need to talk about the Missouri breaks.
Oh, yes. Arthur Penn again, from 1976. This is a Western, but it is not like any Western you've ever seen.
It stars Jack Nicholson as a horse thief or rustler, and Marlon Brando as the regulator hired to stop him.
But Brando's character, Robert E. Lee Clayton, is fascinating. Kitchen argues he is the personification of the spirit of capitalism.
Okay, we need to describe this character because he is just bonkers. This is the movie where Brando famously wears a dress, right?
Yeah. He wears a dress, he wears a kimono, he takes long bubble baths, he speaks in all these weird affected accents. He's very strange.
He's definitely not John Wayne. He's not the stoic, silent cowboy hero.
Not even close. Kitchen calls him the irrational rationalist.
Irrational rationalist. Okay, explain that.
Okay, so capitalism prides itself on being rational, efficient, logical, driven by numbers. But Kitchen argues, and he's following Adorno here, that at its core, the system is deeply irrational.
How so?
It destroys the planet to increase numbers in a bank account. It burns crops to keep prices high while people starve. That is, on a fundamental level, insane. It's insanity masquerading as logic.
And Clayton embodies that contradiction.
Perfectly. Professionally, he is hyper-efficient. He uses this bizarre long-range rifle called a Creedmoor. It was very high-tech for the time. He kills from a distance. He is a regulator. He imposes order. He gets the job done.
He's the rational part.
But personally, he's whimsical. He loves nature. He bird watches. He plays dress-up. He's charming and odd.
So he's just a psychopath.
He's schizophrenic, structurally speaking. He neatly separates his job, which is murder, from his life, which is bubble baths and weird hats. He masks the inherent violence of his trade with all these eccentric human quirks. Kitchen argues this is exactly how the system itself works.
It demands cold efficiency, but clothes it in human branding.
That hits hard, doesn't it? It's like a tech company that helps governments spy on citizens, but their main office has beanbag chairs and free kombucha and a big sign on the wall that says, "Don't be evil."
Exactly. Clayton is the Google campus of cowboys. He is quirky to distract you from the fact that he is a ruthlessly efficient killer for hire.
And the central irony of the film is that he's hired by a man, the rancher Braxton, who is obsessed with the idea of right and wrong.
Yes, Braxton has a library. He reads books about morality. He talks about building a civilization. But the moment his property is threatened, the moment Nicholson steals his horses, Braxton hires a psychopath to kill people without a trial.
It shows that in this system, property rights trump moral rights every single time. Braxton wants to see himself as a civilized man, but his property requires him to unleash a monster to protect it. It exposes the violence that underpins the whole polite society.
So Brando's bizarre performance makes perfect sense now. It's not just method acting weirdness for the sake of it. It's a direct critique of the quirky, friendly face of ruthless power.
And finally, we have to touch on Britannia Hospital. This is Lindsay Anderson's later film from 1982, and it is a savage, savage satire.
The setting is a pretty clear allegory. The hospital is Britain, or maybe the entire Western world.
And it is failing. It's completely falling apart. The kitchen staff is on strike over gourmet food for private patients. The royal family is visiting. There are riots outside the gates. It's total chaos. But inside the hospital, in the elite private wing, there is this figure, Professor Millar.
The scientist, the visionary.
The ultimate dark romantic. And he's building the new man.
Genesis.
And Genesis is, well, it's a brain in a jar.
You mean that literally, it's a brain in a jar.
Literally. A glowing, pulsating brain wired up to all this machinery. And this represents the ultimate terrifying goal of dark romanticism. Pure intellect, pure action, completely divorced from the messy, frail, failing human body. It's the dream of total efficiency made flesh, or not flesh.
It's the AI dream. It's the singularity. Get rid of the messy, emotional meat and just keep the pure, rational intelligence.
Exactly. And the end of the film is the real punchline. How does the public react to this monstrosity?
Well, in the movie, the protesters finally break in, right? The masses storm the gates.
Yes. The mob breaks into the lab. They're angry. They want to tear the whole corrupt system down. They want justice. But then they see Genesis. They see the brain in the jar glowing, speaking with this booming, godlike voice.
And they just stop.
They are mesmerized. They drop their weapons. Their jaws hang open. They just stare. Kitchen calls this the tyranny of spectacle.
They are completely silenced by the shiny new thing.
The public is, and this is a direct quote, mesmerized by the very thing that destroys them. The blue flower of romanticism, that old symbol of longing and beauty and the infinite, has become a brain in a jar. And we just stare at it in awe.
It's us staring at our phones while the world burns. It's the crisis in the title. We are so impressed by the technology, by the spectacle of the new, that we forget it's designed to replace us.
We forget that the new man has no need for us old, messy humans.
Okay, let's zoom out. This has been a tour through some very bleak cinematic landscapes. We've looked at the philosophy fict, action, the hustle. We've looked at the films, Mickey frozen in the light, Travis smiling at the whip, Brando in the bath, the brain in the jar. What does this all mean for us? Why does this matter to someone listening to this deep dive in 2026?
I think it matters because of what Kitchen calls the violence of storytelling.
Unpack that phrase for me.
Why do these systems of power endure? Why do we keep buying into the success ethic, even when we see it's destructive? Because we, the audience, demand narrative payoff.
We want the story to work. We want a satisfying ending.
We are complicit. When we watch Mickey 1, on some level, we want him to escape the mob. We want him to get on stage and kill it. We get frustrated when he freezes.
And with Oh Lucky Man, we want Travis to get the girl and the money. We are trained by the representative regime, by a lifetime of watching movies, to desire the very structures that are oppressing the characters.
So when a movie like one of these denies us that ending, when it ends with a paralyzed stare or a deeply ironic smile, it frustrates us. We feel cheated. We might even say it was a bad movie.
And that frustration is the entire point.
It's the entire point. Kitchen argues that failure in these films is diagnostic. When a protagonist stalls or fails or does nothing, it exposes the invisible walls of the system. It shows us the bars of the cage.
It's like if the hero wins, the cage looks like a gymnasium. It looks like a place you can work out and get strong and triumph. But if the hero fails, you suddenly realize it's a prison.
That's a perfect analogy. The philosopher Adorno said that in a fallen world, the only moral path is non-participation. Nicht mitmachen. But in a movie, non-participation looks boring. It looks like a bad ending.
And then the hero decided to stay home and read a book instead of saving the world. The end.
The audience would demand a refund. But that is the crisis in perception. We are addicted to the narrative of action, even when that action is self-destructive. We would rather watch a character destroy themselves in pursuit of success than watch a character simply exist.
And Kitchen connects this directly to our modern world, too, to algorithmic visibility. This is where it gets really real for me.
Yes. Think about the incentive architecture of social media. What is action today? It's content creation, it's likes, engagement, constant performance.
Pics or it didn't happen.
If you don't post your workout, did you even exercise? If you don't post your promotion, did you even really succeed?
Yeah.
Exactly. If you don't act, if you don't post, produce, engage, you don't exist in the digital sphere. This system demands constant visibility. It demands that you turn your entire life into a coherent narrative that others can consume and validate.
So aesthetic stillness, that light romantic ideal of just being, is basically death on the internet.
It creates total invisibility. And the real threat now is that even negation itself is being monetized.
You mean like the trend of quiet quitting?
That is the perfect example. Quiet quitting started as a form of negation, a small refusal to overwork, a form of inaction, a light romantic gesture. I will do my job, but I will not give you my soul.
But then what happened to it?
It became a viral trend. It became content. It became a hashtag. People made thousands of videos about quiet quitting to get likes and followers.
It became a thing you could post about. It became a brand identity. I'm a quiet quitter.
The system absorbed the critique and turned it into a commodity. The crisis today is, can negation even survive when every rupture is immediately circulated, monetized, and turned into a personal brand? Can you truly drop out, or does dropping out just become a new lifestyle to be marketed?
That's heavy. It feels like there is no escape. The system just eats everything. Even the resistance becomes part of the machine.
Well, Kitchen's book isn't about giving you a 10-step plan to escape the matrix. It's about helping you see the trap.
Right. It's a crisis in perception. You have to see the system before you can even begin to understand it.
The takeaway here is about recognizing that action, the relentless drive to do, to win, to succeed, is very often just obedience to a script written by a system that doesn't actually care about you. It's Fatay's vocation of man, repurposed as a TikTok algorithm.
And that true freedom, then, might look like inaction, refusing to play the role that's been assigned to you.
It might look like failure.
It might look like standing still.
It might look like finding 2 trash can lids and banging them together for no reason other than the fact that you want to. Not to sell tickets, not to get likes, but just to make a noise that is yours and yours alone.
I think I'm going to go stare at a wall for a while after this.
That might be the most revolutionary act you can take.
We want to thank Will Kitchen for this incredible work, Film, Negation and Freedom. It is a dense read, but man, does it change how you watch a movie, and it really changes how you look at your phone.
Absolutely. It makes you question every single happy ending you've ever seen.
If you enjoyed this deep dive in this different format, consider supporting the Crisis and Perception Project on Patreon. We rely on listeners like you to keep us staring into the void.
And questioning the systems that are shaping our world.
We want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. If the system feeds on your attempts to fix it or succeed within it, if every solution and every act of rebellion just strengthens the algorithm, is the only truly revolutionary act to simply stop, to fail on purpose, to just sit still.
Something to think about.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Stay still, everyone.